So I talked about in the previous video, installing Splunk is not hard if you know your platform. If you speak Windows and Linux, you're going to see the installation process for Splunk and you're going to go, oh, okay, no problem, and you're done. The real questions you're going to have revolve around the real world. What about mounting storage, doing things a little different? How do I make this installation a little more secure? How do I get past my auditors, my compliance people, my security people, and make sure that they're happy? That's what I'm going to do a little differently than I think most video series on installing Splunk does. Hopefully I can add a tiny little more value to this process for you. So to start out, I just want to talk about MD5 sums. If you know what these are, if you know where I'm going with this, click to the next video, you're done. But if you've never used MD5 as part of your installation process on either Windows or Linux, I'm going to focus on Linux. It's almost identical on Windows. If you want me to do a separate Windows video, comment below and I'll do one. But it's almost identical, and you can always use Ubuntu for Windows and then it will be identical. Let me know if you need me to cover that in more detail. If that didn't make any sense to you, happy to come back around on that. But as far as a Linux-based installation, which most Splunk-based installs will be, that's what we're going to talk about. On your download page, after you've logged in, created an account, all that wonderful stuff, you're going to see MD5 Verify right here. I'm going to open this bad boy up, and you're going to see right here this series of just gibberish. What does all that mean? Well, MD5 is a mathematical formula that provides uniqueness, that guarantees uniqueness. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say vi hello. You can see I've created a file that says hello. If I type MD5, oops, forget to type when I'm on camera, and boom. This MD5 command here does some fancy math. Not a math guy, not going to sit here and explain it because we're going outside my zone of competency. But it provides me a truly unique number in return, or series of letters and characters in return. If I go in and modify hello here, let's just say I create a file called hello2 and type hello2. And now I do MD5 sum on hello2. We can see we've ended up with a completely different string here. MD5 sum is what they call that there. So what happened? Why two completely different things? Or shouldn't, if I only changed one character, should we have a minor difference? No. This is going to ensure that we have entirely unique series of characters and numbers based on the file that we have in front of us. Now this isn't just text files too. I can go MD5 sum right on Splunk. Check that out. So even the Splunk installer right here has its own checksum. Now if we go back to our little file from earlier, we can see it started BBBB129, BB129. Wonderful. So I have provided some evidence that says the MD5 checksums that Splunk has provided match the checksum of the file they provided. This helps us stop these sort of man-in-the-middle attack or supply chain attacks where someone might have modified Splunk unbeknownst to Splunk. They have a download.com website, or not download.com, but a download website or an S3 bucket or somewhere on the internet. They store their downloads that are separate from their website itself. And someone was able to hack that and add things to it or modify their supply chain with their upstream software developers and providers, a lot like we saw with the SolarWinds attack. By actually watching these checksums and making sure before we deploy stuff, we significantly lower our risk of installing bad software into our environment. Now I'm going to show you one more quick trick. Let me switch screens here. All right. Here's what I wanted to bring up before I kind of closed out this video. I'm on Wikipedia's MD5 sum website, and you can actually see we can check things from the command line. So if you're writing a script, a Puppet module, something with group policy, you're going to have options to script this and automatically determine the product you're downloading is what Splunk advertises. It's also a good way for you to internally, before you execute an installer, validate what's in your internal software repositories where you store software hasn't been modified by somebody in your network. So let's just pop this guy in. So if I go over here and I say, this again, this is just right here. I'll put this in the show notes. But if I just do that, let me clear the screen so it's a little easier to see. I'm going to echo, that is to take this MD5 sum, this checksum, this file name, and pipe it through the MD5 sum application. Now I don't have a file called file to hash, so it's giving me an error. But let's get the Splunk package we saw from earlier. Clear again, just so it's easier for you guys to see. I'm going to pop this in. Now this should fail. I have this random checksum from Wikipedia, checks against this. It's going to fail because who knows what this is for. We can Google it, possibly find it, but I doubt it. It's saying it's what you can write your scripts or anything you're doing. Maybe we'll cover that later to validate this is correct. Now if I go back to our checksum that we grabbed from Splunk.com, again, this doesn't have to just be a verification process from Splunk. This will be a verification process for your own repos. Maybe you have somebody in your 5,000, 6,000 employee company who's not a good guy. Turns out there's a 1 in 6,000 chance there might be a bad guy working for you, working with you. They may want to modify the Splunk installer so that they can get into your Linux systems, your Windows systems, get access to the data you're planning on putting into Splunk. So this is something to watch out for. By integrating these sort of checksums into your installation process, you can verify no one on the back end made changes. And there we go. It says OK. So I really do recommend you skimming this. If you want to get into the whole idea of MD5 hashes and how they work and how cryptographic functions, this kind of stuff about 10 years ago I would have found interesting. Nowadays, I just want the functionality of MD5. I want to know the file I'm working with is the file it claims to be. If you can remember that piece, you're going to pass most interviews and you're going to keep your environment secure. All right, if you have any questions, if you want to see this on Windows or BSD or something else, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I think this is relatively straightforward for on the Windows platform as well, so you should be able to pick it up from just seeing it on Linux and being able to do it on Windows. But if you do want me to do one, let me know. All right, thank you very much.